Hello everyone, welcome back to another AFL fantasy video. Today's video will be a little bit of a different one. I'll be looking at the AFLW fantasy competition by Moreira's Magic, or otherwise known as Selby. So he just opened the game last night of the time I'm recording, and I've drafted an initial team that should provide a decent guide for how you guys should structure your team. So, obviously, there's not much information about AFLW right now on the internet, so it's kind of hard to build a team while everyone's still figuring out who are the best players. But I played last year. I didn't rank particularly well. I was around 250th to 300th. So I wasn't top 100, but I think I have got a decent idea of who and how you guys should build your initial team for the AFLW fantasy comp. So I'll show you guys the team. So I'll start in defense. So in my defense, I've got Emma Kearney and Jacobson as my premium defenders. So last year, there were two or three primary defenders who were Emma Swanson. Oh, I'll show you guys in the team builder here. Yeah, so there was Swanson. So she averaged 88. She was the number one defender. But she obviously got moved to the midfield, so now she has only midfield status. Can't select her as a defender anymore. Same for Rebecca Webster. Same situation. So the top two of the top three defenders from last year have been moved to the midfield. So we've only been left with Ruby Schleicher, but she's also being tipped to move to the midfield. But even though that might sound like it's good for her scoring, I don't think it will be, because a lot of her scoring last year came off of intercept marks and junk marks in defense. Somewhat similar to a Tom Stewart. So she relies heavily on those defensive turnovers from opposition teams to score. But I think she'd still score decent in the midfield, but I'll probably... she's not a lock to my team at the moment. So yeah, I've gone with Kearney because she played off halfback last year, I think, and she did pretty well. She's a former midfielder, so she's like a midfielder who's been moved to halfback. Captain of North Melbourne, so she's obviously a very good player. So at the moment, I've got her as my D1. It could change though. Also Jacobson, she is probably St Kilda's primary intercept defender / distributor. She won the best and fairest last year. And she just gets a lot of the ball from halfback. And since St Kilda wasn't a very good team, the ball was in defence quite a bit. So she benefited from that. My D3 is Kate Lutkins. So she was one of Brisbane's best defenders. But last year she got injured in round 1 after scoring a 2 and did her ACL, so she was out for the entire season. So basically her average was 2 for last year, and she only played 1 game, so she's heavily discounted. And I'm looking at her stats from 2021. She averaged 53.3 points. And she's priced at around 40 points, I believe. I'll just check that. So 64k. Yeah, so she's priced at around 38. So I think she's got about 20 points upside, or 15 at least. So I've got her as a mid pricer. And my rookie defenders are Kira Mueller and Isla Shireen. I think they did well in their practice matches, so I put them in for now. This can obviously change, but at the moment I've got them two, because in the AFLW practice match report thing, it said that they both performed very well in defense. So yeah. Moving on to my ruck, or my midfield. I've got Moody as my ruck. She and Seymour are probably the best ruckman in the AFLW, at least from last season. I'm not sure if I'll stick with her because like it's a bit pricey, and I definitely want to invest more money into my backline. So maybe upgrading Jacobson or something to Schleicher if I decide to do that. But yeah, for now I've got Moody. I wanted Cutting, but she is on the inactive list now. So she won't be playing this season due to other work commitments. So at the moment I've got Moody at R1. In my midfield, I think a lot of people will have a midfield sort of like this. So Kiara Bowers, obviously, she's basically a lock, and she's a must-have for every team. She's, the best AFLW fantasy player. It's not even a discussion. Georgia Patrikios, heavily underpriced. I think she's like $50,000 underpriced. Because I think let me just check what she's priced at. So 106. She's priced at around 60 something. So I think she averaged like 90. Let me check. Like 90. She averaged 90 on the dot in 2021. So I think there's a lot of upside there, and she's probably going to be a top 5 midfielder. So I definitely think she's going to be a very popular selection as well. Tiana Smith is also quite similar. She's a third-year player. She loves tackling, so she's a very good fantasy player. In 2021, she averaged 72. And last year she was out with an ACL injury. So she's also heavily underpriced. We'll just have a look. So she's 85k. She averaged 72 in 2021, and that's including a score of 24. 85k. Wow. So she's also like 20 points underpriced, which is very good. So those two players, I'll definitely lock them into my team. I don't see them changing. And then I've got Montana Ham and Sophia Hurley. They're arguably the two best fantasy draftees. And they're playing for Sydney, so they're an expansion club. They should get plenty of midfield time. So I expect them to be like last year's Charlie Rowbottom and Georgie Pressbarker, sorry. So yeah, I've locked them two into the team as well. Moving on to my forward line, I've got Jasmine Garner. She was formerly a midfielder, but now she has forward status. So I'm definitely locking her in. She's basically like a Josh Dunkley, if you're comparing to the men's fantasy game. Let me just check her average from last year. It was 87.3. So I don't think she's much value, but she's definitely a probably top 2 or 3 forward. So definitely I'm locking her in. And then I've got Hannah Ewings, I think. She was Port Adelaide's top draftee. She averaged pretty decent scores in the Sandful W. I can't remember exactly what she averaged, but I think it was around 70s or 80s. So I think she's a similar type to maybe like a lesser extent a decent rookie in comparison to Ham and Hurley. Cynthia Hamilton is in a similar boat. She was also a good draftee, and she is a good fantasy scoring midfielder, and obviously playing for the expansion club Sydney, she will also get some good minutes. Ella Roberts, I think she's a really good pick, because she was West Coast's #1 pick, well, first pick, and also the first pick of the Western Australian pool. So she was expected to probably go top 5 pick in the national draft if it was like an open pool, but she ended up going at 14, I think. So you could say she's underpriced just from her rookie pricing. So yeah, definitely, uh, probably gonna start with her. Mia Austin is a ruckman, from Carlton. I think she was a recent draftee as well. She's being tipped to play some decent minutes. I'm not really sure about her though because Carlton also have Brianne Moody, so I'm not sure how her minutes will go. Definitely, she's a watch over the practice games. On my bench, I've got some rookies who I'm pretty confident in, except for Waterhouse. I'm not really sure about Waterhouse. I just needed a defender rookie, so I saw her that she played in the practice match simulation, for Adelaide, and she played pretty well. I'm not sure if she'll get a round 1 spot though, so she's one I'm probably going to replace. Zara Hamilton, she's a basement rookie. I'm pretty sure she was a late pick for the Giants, but she does score well. So that's why I picked her. I can't really remember these numbers, but I just remember that they were good scorers. So, move on to Fleur Davies. She is looking like she's going to play a decent amount of ruck time for the Giants. And she's also a decent scorer, so locking her in. And Talia Reid, I think she's also a ruckman. So I think she'll get some good points from that, just from that role. And yeah, so all of my rookies are good scorers, from when I did my research. And Goldsworthy, I think she averaged like 80 in AFL Women's VFLW, yeah, VFLW or something. And then she also averaged like 100 in the NAB league, so she looks like very good value for a rookie. I'll move on to some players who I don't actually have in my team right now, but yeah, so obviously Schleicher, she's going to be very popular. So yeah, I need to make a decision on whether I get her, but yeah, she's definitely a very good option. If she stays in defense, then I'll get her. If she's in the midfield, I might still get her, but I'll be less sure of it. I think Pound had a good finish to last season, so she had a good second half of the season in terms of fantasy. So if she can continue that momentum, that'll be pretty good. I think Priest is slightly inflated with her price, because she played midfield time in the latter parts of last season, which inflated her average. But with Patrikios and Smith back, I think she gets pushed back to defense and won't score as well. So I think probably stay off her. Cordner, I think she was injured last season, so she could be similar to Kate Lutkins. Midfielders, there are a lot more options for the top premium ones. So I think you can't really go past Bowers, unless you want to save some money to invest in other position. So Marinoff is probably second best midfielder. I think Hatchard, Riddell, and Marinoff and Bowers are like the clear top 4 midfielders in terms of fantasy. I think Patrikios will get close to them as well. And Bates is obviously the past league best and fairest winner, and she had a really good preseason. She's improved her fitness, so she apparently is looking to go one better. So I think she's a pretty good option as well. Swanson, she could be like Rory Laird, in the sense that she scores well in defense. Everyone gets put off her because she moves to the midfield, gets only midfield status, but then she continues to play really well. So yeah, consider Swanson as well. Lucas Rod. So I think she'll play predominantly midfield at Hawthorn. Her average is slightly lower because she started the season in defence for St Kilda, where she didn't score as well as when she did in the midfield. So I think she's slightly underpriced. Like maybe by 8 points. I think she could average probably 95. Because if you look at her scores from last year, from round 5 to round 10, she went 102, 83, 110, 98, 98, 102. So that's probably around like a 95 to 100 average right there. From like a decent block of games as well. So, and yes, she'll be the primary midfielder at Hawthorn. So yeah, I think she's definitely pretty good, decent value. Britt Benici, I think she's a decent option as well because she showed at the start of last year that last season that she's a really good scorer. But then she scored an 18 when she got injured, which lowered her average. And then she missed the rest of the season. So she only played 8 games. I'm not sure she's got the discount. But yeah, she's got one of the best points per minute in the league. So I think top 5 points per minute. So yeah, she's also a good option for the midfield. Yeah, Rebecca Webster also similar to Laird and Swanson. Brianna Davey did a ACL. It was probably quite well documented. She played 1 game for 77 before she did it. So I think she's heavily underpriced as well. I just look at her 2021 average. Yeah, so she averaged 94.8. Top and was the third best midfielder in terms of scoring. So yeah, I think she's actually a very good option. I actually might consider getting her in, but I'm not sure who I'll replace though, because I'm pretty set on my top 3 midfielders. I might do a restructure, but yeah, Brianna Davies, very very good option. Rowbottom could also be an option, even though she's in her second year and she's already really expensive, but she could continue to improve and probably possibly have another breakout season and become one of the top premium midfielders. I honestly don't think it's worth taking a punt on her though, since Davey is only 5k more. So if you're debating between this price range of midfielders, I'd definitely go Davey or Patricios. Move on to rucks. So the ruck line is quite hard to pick as well because you've got the 2 best in Seymour and Moody, and then you've got like the 90 to 100 or 80 to 100k range, where you've got some decent scoring ruckmen. Yeah, Moody and Seymour, I think those are the probably obvious starters. And if you're not going to start them, then I'll probably look down lower in the price range. So yeah, around here. Yeah. I'm not really sure about the cheap rocks, so keep watching them in practice matches. In the forward line, O'Sullivan and Hanks are probably the top forwards, along with Gardner. So those are your 3 premium forwards. Phillips also, should be up there as well, even though she's getting a bit older. Antonio was also a well sought after forward last season. I think Bonnie Toogood could be a good option, considering her move to Essendon. She'd probably play a more prominent role after moving from the Bulldogs. So definitely keep an eye on her in the preseason games. Yeah, and Paige Scott also was a recent draftee, I think, for Essendon. I think she did pretty well in the preseason game, so she's a decent rookie. Janomi Anderson for St Kilda averaged 70 odd in the VFLW in the NAB league. So, and she might get some decent minutes through the midfield. So she's a decent rookie option as well. And I think that's probably it for the forwards. So yeah, there's definitely still a lot of work to do in terms of understanding where all the players stand. So preseason games will be very intriguing as to who we should pick in our teams. Yeah, so also Sarah Goodwin in our defense. Let's have a look here. I had her in one of my drafts as well. So yeah, recent drafty here. So keep a watch through the preseason games that start on Friday night with St Kilda versus Brisbane. So yeah, once after the preseason games, I'll probably make another video with an updated draft of the team. But this is how my current team stands. Most of it I'm pretty confident in, apart from like a couple of rookies and then Jacobson and Moody. But yeah, the rest of the team is I think they're all pretty decent picks. So I hope this is a pretty helpful guide for all of you who are looking to play AFLW fantasy this season. Make sure to like the video and subscribe for future content in both AFL Men's Fantasy and AFLW Fantasy. And I'll probably see you guys next week for my AFL Men's Fantasy round review.